told you that our handy dandy, lovely, lovely, wonderful, wonderful, sorry it's dirty, this is my second batch of pie crust. Yes, pie crust. What if I told you that our wonderful cooking blender was also good at making pie crust? Do you like to make pie crust? I actually love to make pie crust. It doesn't bother me. But at Thanksgiving, when I have to make 4 or 5 pies, or if I'm doing anything for anything, any event where I'm going, and everybody says to me, whenever we have an event as potluck, and I say, what does everybody want me to bring? They're always like, pie, pie, pie. So pie it is. So, but pie crust can be a pain after a while. Can be wearing on the hands, the arms, the shoulders, all that, because you got to crumble in all that really cold butter. Okay, and let me tell you folks, that is definitely the secret to good pie crust, cold ingredients. Some people take it so far as to measure out their flour and put it in the fridge. I don't go that far. But my water is sitting in the freezer right now, getting ice cold, and my apple cider vinegar, I hope I put it back in the fridge. Anyway, so I've taken 2½ cups of flour. Yes, I just use all-purpose flour. It doesn't bother me not to use pastry flour. Pie crust needs to be a little bit sturdier, and all-purpose flour seems to make a little bit sturdier of a pie crust. I've put in here a tablespoon of sugar and a teaspoon of kosher salt. Okay, and I'm going to pour it into my blender, and as soon as I'm done that, I'm going to move it forward so that you can see. And like I said, this is my second batch. If anybody needs some pie crust, come hit me up. I'm actually only making a second batch because somebody called me and interrupted my video and stopped it. And I was so mad because you didn't see the good part. Okay, so I'm just going to turn my blender on, and I'm just going to leave it on custom blend, and I'm just going to pulse a couple times, and that's just going to mix my flour, salt, sugar together. Okay, then I have the long skinny scraper. If you have our blender, you really need our long skinny scraper. This is the most awesome tool for getting things in here. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape the flour that, kind of flew up on the sides there. I'm going to scrape it down so that it's all, everything's as close to the blades as it can possibly be. Now, before I did the other batch, I actually had put the cup of our blender, you can see here, I had actually put the cup of the blender in the fridge for probably about a half hour because it is a cooking blender, so it does heat. So there's a metal plate on the bottom. So that's even better for keeping, for your cold things like pie crust when you need to make pie crust. Now, I'm a little bit persnickety. I like to cut my butter up into smaller chunks before I even get going. So that's what you see me doing. I'm just using our paring knife to cut the butter. I'm trying to handle it as little as possible because your hands, are really warm, and it'll warm that butter up really quickly. And there's nothing worse than trying to cut in warm butter to flour to make pie crust. Like I said, the secret is cold ingredients. I've been at events where I've been making pies, and it's hot in the kitchen and it's hot outside, and I remember thinking to myself, like, then you watch these shows like, Outlander and, The White Princess, and you get a glimpse into these medieval kitchens, and I'm like, how did they make anything in a hot kitchen like that? But I guess they had their own tips and tricks. Okay, so it is 2 full sticks of butter. I usually buy half sticks just because I don't use real butter as often as anything else, so I like to keep it just wrapped up. Okay, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to put the lid on and listen to my blender. It sings to me when my lid's on. Oops, I better put it on the right direction. You hear that? Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it on custom blend, and I'm going to hit pulse, okay? But I have to hit it and let go and hit it and let go. You do not want it to continuously spin. If you continuously spin it, you're going to have batter, not crumbled butter in flour. So, you see, I just push it long enough to hear it get started. And then and let it go. Okay, and I'm going to do that a couple times. Then I'm going to take the lid off. I'm going to take my handy dandy scraper. Okay, and I'm going to get in there, and I'm going to kind of kick up the butter and flour that may have settled to the bottom down in the blades, just to give it a chance to mix more with the flour that hasn't gotten a chance to get crumpled with some butter. Okay. So for some of you, here we go again, right? Ooh, that was a little bit too long. Don't rush it, Amy. Take your time, right? So for some of you who may be familiar with our blender, you might be thinking, Amy, what the heck are you doing? That blender's just, you know, set it, forget it, and walk away. And it is. It's great when you're doing soups or purees or jams, peanut butters, alternative milks, all the other things that our blender is great for. Now, I'm going to take a second, okay? And it's just me, because I'm just like this perfectionist kind of person, okay? I'm actually going to take my, I think we got some pretty good crumbs here. It's looking pretty good. I'm just going to dump it out, just so that, because you see down at the bottom, there's a little bit of butter and flour down there at the bottom. Okay, and it's what it's supposed to be, but I'm just going to give it a little bit of a twirl. I think maybe if you did a smaller batch, I just automatically do a double batch of pie crust. I think if you only did one pie crust at a time, you probably wouldn't have to do the step that I'm doing, okay? But I am loosening up the butter and flour that may have gotten onto the bottom of the blender. Okay, and I'm going to dump it out and just take a look and just make sure that everything's good to go for the next step. Okay. I know I'm a little bit persnickety, but that's okay. I mean, I'm saving myself some time ultimately. I mean, if it weren't for this, I would still be standing here going, do I have crumbles yet? So let me grab my apple cider vinegar. And I'm going to put in 2 teaspoons of that. And this is where our adjustable spoons come in real handy, because I can set this to 2 teaspoons and I can measure it out once and be done with it. And I'm actually going to drop that in, and I'm going to put the lid back on, and I'm just going to pulse it a couple of times. And then I'm going to go into my freezer, and I'm going to get my half a cup of ice cold water. Okay, and then I'll lift up my phone and show you, okay? I'm going to take pardon my kitchen frame without a door. I'm going to take the lid off the blender, the pour spout off, whatever you want to call it. And I'm just going to put in a little bit of water at a time. Pulse it. Okay, I'm going to open it up. I'm going to stir it around a little bit. Okay. It definitely, it's definitely a nice and easy way of making pie crust. I think you can see that within, the next several minutes. I mean, I'm going to have 2 pie crusts ready to go. But it isn't like, this whole, like, hey, I'm going to put it in my blender and walk away. You can see it starting to form. It's hard for you guys to see. I'm not going to put all of this water in. Let me just. I'm almost done. I'm actually not going to use. That is the other thing. That's the only thing I've ever had with baking that you have to and no, I'm not worried about overworking this, because all I'm really doing is just kind of pushing it around just a tiny little bit. I'm not really doing any crazy, I hope I just didn't wreck it. All right, and as you can see, I pretty much have big cloud-like chunks in there. Now I'm gonna bring out my classic batter bowl. And again, it's just, don't think I don't clean my stuff. I literally was making a batch of pie crust, and somewhere before I even started to use the blender, somebody called me and I hit stop, which I probably shouldn't have done. And it stopped my video and stopped recording. And I'm so upset. So, I mean, if it had stopped before I dumped it out, no big deal. But, you know, so here we go. So here's my pie crust. It comes out in big clumpity clumps. I'm going to use my long skinny scraper. Okay. And most of the hard work has been done for me. You know, I mean, I think because I made the double pie crust, you know, I never thought about it. I probably should try making it as a single pie crust and see what happens. Silly Amy. Why would I ever only make one pie? Don't know. I know, I'm crazy. It should be Amy's Crazy Kitchen or Crazy Amy's Amazing Kitchen. Maybe that. But anyway, I digress. So basically, my blender has done most of my work. Okay? It's, you know, I mean, my pie crust is almost done. Now all I need to do, I switched hands. So I gotta switch my blender back around. Now all I need to do is just kind of form it into a dough ball. See, there you go. Perfect. That, ladies and gentlemen, is perfect pie crust. And I'm going to put this in the fridge so that it can rest and get cold. And I'm just going to put it in a Ziploc bag. And then I will divide it in half, roll it out, and make myself some yummy pies. Now, if you're willing to bear with me, this is the best part of this blender. Okay, so my hands are dirty. Normally I would take the time, here, you know what, I have a towel. Normally I would take the time to wash my hands, but I don't want, you guys don't need to sit here and watch, you know, my blender, you know, do nothing while I wash my hands. So there's so little left in here that I'm not even gonna worry about it, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put 3 cups of water in here. So, like I said, the best part. So as you can see, this is what my blender looks like. Okay, it's not too bad. Okay, who wants to clean that when you don't have to? Okay, I'm gonna turn it back on. All right, I'm gonna put the 3 cups of water in there. Normally I would have taken my blender over and, you know, whatever. I'm gonna put a couple drops of dish soap. I love Meyer's dish soap, and this is orange clove. You can only get it in the winter, but oh, I buy like tons of it in the winter, so it lasts me all year. I'm gonna put my lid back on, and you better make sure this part's on there. Okie dokie. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see it as well. And then all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn my dial until it says heated wash. Now, ladies and gentlemen, observe. Okay, so the heating element is now coming on, and it is heating the water. It is currently at 73 and going up rapidly, okay? When the water gets to about 140, it will keep doing this on and off, on and off, on and off, enough to get it all the way up to the tippy top. Okay, it'll do that for about 2 minutes, and then when it's done, my blender, with a simple rinse, will be sparkly clean on the inside. It's not going to clean the flour off the outside. So I'm not going to hold you up while we wait for that to happen, but trust me, it's true. It'll be sparkly clean. I won't have to do anything. I mean, even all that sticky, floury pie crust dough will be gone, okay? So thanks for joining me. I hope you come back and visit me soon. Bye-bye.